Oh, I guess it's working. Uh, I just want to tell a little bit of my story. I was homeless in Santa Monica for 11 and a half years. I guess you can say I earned a doctorate degree in homelessness, the effects of homelessness on the psyche, the effects of homelessness on society as a whole. When I was out there, I went to college. I have 186 units in Santa Monica College. Okay, I had 3.89 grade point average, or 2.89. I'm sorry, and that was because I made a mistake when I first started. I took the classes. I was on the street and I took a full boat. I took a full ride of classes for the winter semester, which is only 8 weeks, as opposed to the other two semesters, fall and spring, which are 11 weeks. So I had to drop all that. I got F in a lot of that stuff. I mean, I dropped it, but they still gave me the F, especially the math. They gave me the F in the math. So what I did was I went on and I took my majors. I'm an art major. I love art. I love to paint. I love to draw. My goal was to become a computer animator and a graphic designer. I wrote for a local newspaper when I was out there. I mean, I had a column to literally tell people what it was like to live on the streets. And I'm not a stupid man. I'm very well read. I used to read the dictionary growing up. Read encyclopedias and comic books. Which inspired me to the creative side of everything. I'm a self-taught musician. I went to the Chicago the I like to put it this way. The University of the Chicago Public Library. I taught myself music theory. I can read and write music, okay? And because I can read and write music, I taught myself the piano. And I taught myself. I didn't have to go to college for this. I learned the rules and I learned how to break them, as my art teacher would tell me. I went to college to refine my artistic skills. I went to college to become a computer animator. I had a job when I was homeless. I worked pushing vending carts. I was the mule twice a day, every day for 4 years. No days off, or some days off. I mean, I think I took like 10 days off in 4 years, if that. And I earned my money. I had my money coming in from my college grants. Okay. When I was out there, I broke every stereotype of being homeless. Every one. Yeah, I smoked a little weed when I was out there. A lot of people did. But I wasn't doing the meth. I wasn't I wasn't doing heroin, you know. I wasn't. I mean, when I first hit the streets in '96, I had a job. I was working for a machine shop up there on 26th and 26th, right by EMGM Plaza, until I broke my hand. Then I had to find another job. And between that, my father died. And I went from San Rochelle, which is the shelter here in Santa Monica, to the next part of the program, which was it was like between getting in the house and coming off the street. It was in that program. That's when I had the job, and I broke my hand. And in the meantime, and this is after my dad died. In the meantime, I'm in the shelter system, and I'm trying to grieve. I mean, if you've never been on the streets, it's not a nice place to be. If you've never been on the street, I mean, it's so like you describe it. the only way I can describe it. I mean, there's not a lot of comfort, say. No one's going to run up to you and give you a hug and let you try on the shoulder. All right? I mean, they might give you, I'm not saying all homeless people, but the majority of the long term homeless, you're not going to get a hug. I never got a hug on the street. I said that to say this. When I was in that shelter system, my father died. They let me go home for 2 weeks. When I came back, I had to start that program over again. I came back, got a job, got the job. Was going to work even after my father died. I came home 2 weeks after my father died, and I went out and got a job. Now, when I wanted to go to an outside agency for grieving in a group setting. They wouldn't allow me to. They wanted to keep it in house. Why? Okay, that's the only way I can see. And they couldn't kick me out when I started getting bent out of shape because I wasn't learning how to grieve, but from people that had been through it. So what they did was they said didn't report my chore for 4 times. I had a chore to do every morning. Okay, and they said I didn't report it. A couple of times the person was standing right there when I finished the chore. I was like, dude, check me out and let me go. They wanted to get me out of there. Because they weren't helping me. And they saw they weren't helping me. They saw me getting like to myself. They saw me, I know they heard me crying at night in my bed. And believe me, I cried when my dad died. It twisted my heart up so it almost gave me a heart attack. It hurt so bad. So I get on the street in 96. Broken hand on the street. Okay? I mean, they kicked me out of the shelter after my dad died with a broken hand because they didn't report my chore 4 times. Where in your mind would that equate with something to solve the problem of homelessness? So from 96 to 98, I was just, I had the rug pulled out from under me. My dad just died. I had a broken hand. I still slept around where I worked because the guy was an old man and it was a mom and pop business and he felt sorry for me. And plus, I was guarding one of his projects that he had outside that I was working on, a small wind tunnel for one of these universities. Small one, about 15, 20 feet long, about 4 feet in diameter at the cone. Anyway, I had to survive with a broken hand. All right. I couldn't. I was too young to the get into the welfare system, so to speak, the SSI and all that. And I didn't want. I don't want to be on welfare. I don't. I'd rather work. So the VA, I went to the VA, and at that time, that was a major supplier of Vicodin. So after I broke my hand in the summer of '90, it was the summer of '96. From the summer of '96 to the winter of '98, I go up to Barnes and Nobles, and me and a friend of mine would sit there and read graphic novels. I'd read novels. I'd pull some books down and study some art techniques. because I carried my art supplies everywhere. Then when I went into college, I got my hand was well. I got a job at Fat Burgers. When Fat Burgers was down on the promenade, that was the corporate headquarters. And I'm working in there, and hey, I don't mind fast food, just cool, man. Just give me some money so I can get the hell up out of this situation. So I'm working there, and I got a young kid behind it. You know, he's the store manager. Everything's going right. I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. You know, at the time I was hanging out with the gutter punks and the squatters, and they would break open abandoned buildings and sleep in them. Yes, I broke into squats, and nobody can really get me because that was like 30 years ago. I think the statute of limitations is up now, long up. I did what I had to do to survive. I grabbed my bootstraps and I pulled on them. Like I said, I'm a Marine. I was taught to survive. Improvise, adapt, overcome. So I improvised it, I adapted, and I overcame. But when I was out on the streets and I was hanging out with these guys, a lot of these guys were shooting dope and everything else. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? If we broke into a squat, I immediately went to my own room. I immediately found a way to sweep that floor. I immediately found a way to clean up a little bit so I don't have spiders and stuff crawling on me. One squat we had over here, the people next door in the apartment building next door knew we were here, and they'd leave the hose out so we could fill up a toilet, so we'd have a toilet. We could flush a toilet and go pee. So you had to pee inside the building anywhere. That's the people who used to live here in Santa Monica. They knew we were there as long as we were quiet and we didn't make a big fuss. And all we did was sleep, leave, sleep, leave. They didn't bother us. So I said I broke all those stereotypes. I was amongst these people and never touched any of it. As a matter of fact, I was trying to get them off of it. And what do I got? I got a bunch of kids. I get a bunch of adults hanging out with a bunch of kids. The kids are runaways. Some of the male and female runaways. And what I saw was a big family. I mean, most of them were kids. 99% of them were kids. You might have one adult, making sure that they're whatever, 2 adults, 3 adults. It's a gang. The gutter punks are a gang. You can look that up. Same with the squatters. They're a gang. They come down from San Francisco every year. As a matter of fact, they hang down in Venice every year. They ran them out of Santa Monica. When I went in there, I tried to help these people, man. Why did you turn the kids in? What if they came out of an abusive family? Put them right back there? And believe me, I've heard some horror stories from some of these kids, man. I watched kids grow up, leave, come back, leave, come back, leave, come back. That's what they do. They migrate from San Francisco in the wintertime up north. They migrate in the wintertime down south in the wintertime. In the summertime, they go up north. It's a migration path for those type of homeless people. And they're out there, okay? They migrate. They do. But see, they probably won't tell you that when you're in your sociology class and think about helping the homeless. If they do, I'd be surprised. Like I said, I have a doctorate degree in homelessness. Soon all them kids out there, you know what happened. Neighborhood kids come in. They start making friends. Because kids don't see what we see. We're adults. They don't see that. They see another kid out there, and they might have an attractive looking lifestyle, goth, punk, whatever offshoots of those. Those are the ones that came out of my generation, goth and punk. And I'm a boomer, by the way, late boomer, 59. Well, things lead to things, and people start getting tied up together. And sooner or later, I'm seeing what's happening in the neighborhoods with the kids, in the streets with the kids, and how it's started to interconnect. I mean, I tell them kids that come out and even don't hang out with these people, man. Don't spend all your time down here. Go do something better. And I tell the kids on the street, I don't know, I didn't know how to help any of these kids. I don't want to turn them over to the cops because most of them come from a situation that's a really bad situation. Bad situation. The situation made mama and papa bears red in the face. That type of situation. And there was a lot of them. Believe me, it was a lot of them. So, push comes to shove, push comes to shove, push comes to shove. Years go by, 1999 rolls in. I'm in college. I got a lot of kids out there calling me dad. I didn't ask for it. They just, when I give them advice, after a while, they just go, okay, dad. It's just kind of a joke. It was kind of a joke because I know I'm not a godfather. I'm just, when it came to certain issues, go talk to your parents about that crap. Go talk to your parents. I mean, but see, those issues were out there in the streets because the kids were doing it out in the streets. The group of people I hung around with, they didn't deal to the neighborhood kids. They dealt to the adults. I made sure of that. And believe me, I went and took over that gang. We had a couple of sparring sessions, and I took down a couple of their OGs. And I wouldn't belong. Any gang that I talk about, I'm an affiliate member for the right reason, not the wrong reason. I tried to help people, and the gangbangers, they have some kind of respect for people like that. There's a little bit of honor among them. 1999 rolls around. We had a little kid out there. I'm not going to name names. I'm just going to describe the situation. Little punk girl, very talented young lady, very talented. I mean, at her age, she was doing college level stuff as far as art was concerned. And believe me, I was in college. I had a I had a college professor from the old UCLA Extension program out on the promenade. I had a professor before I went into college when I was drawing without an easel and just had a big old board across my lap. Walked out and called me maestro. Never been to college in my life. I got a college professor calling me maestro. And this is a graphic. This is a interior design professor. And it wasn't just for my sketches. I used to put backgrounds and architects and architectural stuff inside there and everything. 1.2, 0.3 point perspective. Before I even went to college, I knew about that stuff. Anyway, we'll go back to these children, these kids. One girl fell in love with a guy out there. This guy was not nice. This guy was a Charlie Manson wannabe. Legitimate saint worshiper. Legit. legit. I could tell the difference. I studied the Book of the Golden Dawn in my youth. I learned ritual magic. I didn't apply it, I just learned it. And he was fitting all the bills in that one. Altars everywhere he went, and I don't mean nice ones either. The stuff on the walls, legitimate magic circles on the walls. That's the kind of and that's the kind of person that was out there at that time. He had a little gang too at that time as well. I had, if you go down here in Santa Monica, you go down to the very end of the Palisades Park. Go down and you go over that the ramp that goes out into the it's a nature trail. You go down there and you go over that ramp. It goes out to the ocean. You look underneath there; it's all fenced off back there. It's because of me. I had three. I had three tents down there at one time. Two three-man dome tents and a one-man mountain tent. I said that for a reason because it's going to be important. By '99, the other two tents, one of my tents was gone. The other two tents, this is like in a time period of '99 all the way up until in '99. The guy, the little Charlie Manson boy, I was in his face every day because he was going after the girls. He was going after and this wasn't a child. This was an adult. I was in my early 40s. This guy was in his at least his 30s. And the people that he hung, or the guys that he hung out with, all of them were way younger than him. Way younger than him. I mean, he would actually go to. There was one family, and I met a lot of the families. I met moms of these girls. They would come out there and where's my daughter at? I don't know. I don't know, man. I haven't seen her today. You see what I'm saying? Moms that come out looking for the kids, and they come to the homeless that had the parental instinct to find out because you don't think these parents knew who I was. If they didn't know who I was, how did they know how to find me? The kids were talking about me and other homeless people that were actually nice to them. The ones that weren't out for the other than parental stuff. Anyway, this guy this guy came down to this is like he started around '97 when we did the protesting when the La Nina came in and they were burning up the shores and he was in and out. He floated out between '97 and '99. Like I said, there's a big migration path. Okay, he popped in and out, and a lot of us homeless we were getting wise to this guy. Okay, we were like, he wasn't welcome in a lot of places where people hung out. The only reason you could hang out in the promenade is because it's a public forum, and nobody was going to run him out of there. And it got to the point to where I was going to take him out, and the guy was standing above me like this. The only thing I could see is that labret piercing he had in his lip, and he's threatening me, threatening me, threatening me. And the first thing that came to my mind is all palm strike to the teeth, because this guy was nothing nice. Literally, you walk by this guy and you could feel this. You could feel this guy. I mean, this guy was nothing nice. And like I said, he had those little girls behind him. He had these people behind him that they were being misled by him because he was trying to be a Charlie Manson guy. Okay, by 99, everybody was tired of him by that point. You know, he could barely get people to hang out with, so he'd bring people in with him. He got 3 people with him, or 4 people with him last time he came up. And it's very important that's said right now. Because they were still breaking up in squats. Santa Monica was starting to tear down all the empty buildings. The New York investors that had already come in. They already bought up a lot of vacant properties that were there because of the earthquake or whatever. Okay, they had already bought up a lot of properties. So a lot of these properties were gone. But there was one property, a mental health facility. Okay, it was on Euclid between Colorado and Broadway on the east side of the street. It's an apartment building now. This guy rolled into town and he was sitting on at least a pound of methamphetamine. Sitting on at least a pound. This girl was in love with him. I mean, she was like, she thought of herself as Sid and Nancy. He had the gutter punk mentality going on. Sid and Nancy. If you know anything about Sid Vicious and Nancy, you know what happened in that situation. But what actually happened was she went down there. She came to me one night and said, "Look, I want to talk to her." I said, "Please, just leave that guy alone, man. You're not going to change him. I love him. No, please don't do that. Don't do that." You know, and this is the type of girl she liked you. She'd kick you in the shins. You know, I had dents in my femur. She'd run up, hey, boom, and she'd kick me right in the shins. You know, and what happened was she went over to their place. For 3 days, they tortured her, did ungodly things to her, put her in a cage, tased her. And when they ended her, they put her in a sleeping bag and threw her in a corner and locked that room up because they were in the boiler room of the building, which was soundproof. Nobody can hear this girl scream. For 3 days. I can tell you more horror stories of what I know goes on in the street. I've been around it. And yet here in Santa Monica, they want to put social workers on the street. Like I said, I got a PhD in homelessness. Literally, man, literally. I had a bullhorn when I was out there. I wrote for Santa Monica Daily Press for 2 years from the streets. They've scrubbed it out. Luckily, I took copies of the paper, digital copies of the paper with my column in it, and I saved them. I might not own the column, but I can own the paper. They didn't pay me, by the way. They paid me in food vouchers. All these other guys are getting 70 cents a letter, or 70 cents a word at the time. You know, I didn't. You know, I didn't really speak up because I wanted that bullhorn. I wanted to shatter all the illusions of homelessness. I'm not saying that what they're talking about doesn't exist out there. I'm saying there's far more than that exists out there. And really, the mental illness and the drug addiction, sometimes it happens after the person hits the street. They might have been normal and just lost everything, boom, on the street, and they go cuckoo. And they start. The only thing I did, like I said, is smoke weed. I worked. I couldn't afford to be loaded all the time. I did that to go to sleep at night. Maybe when I wake up in the morning, when I'm pushing the heavy vending carts, and my body's kind of sore. Now, I said all that to say this about my living situation now. I have black mold sitting in my bathroom. And I'm gonna give you a little cuteness over here. Do some cuteness for you. That's my cat. That's my cat. That cat is a full-bred Maine Coon cat. I have the paperwork for her. The Veterans Organization. I put up a GoFundMe, and the Veterans Organization gave me the $5,000 I was asking for plus the cat. I was just asking for $5,000 because I was going to spend $3,000 on cat stuff and things that I needed that are beans, bullets, and band-aids for the Marines out there. Beans, bullets, and band-aids. There's a lot of money tied up in this cat, and not just money. I got this tied up in that cat. That's my baby right there. That's my girl. She came here perfectly healthy. 2.5 years later, she's got twitchy tail syndrome. I look it up on the internet. Black mold causes heart disease, causes heart abnormalities. It also causes twitchy tail syndrome in a cat. So, and these people are saying, don't worry about it. I've already had three heart attacks since I've been in this apartment. One of them killed me. Literally, I've been dead since I've been in this apartment. Literally. They'd bring me back. I think it was more than once. More than one of my heart attacks took me out. I must have some kind of strength in me. I must be here for a reason or purpose. Otherwise, I'd be at home with Daddy right now. Why do I have black mold in this apartment? Why did they tear down a landmark building next door to me? I mean, I know they tore it down. They tore it down during the lockdowns when we couldn't go out or whatever. They tore it down, and I go out there to go to the store, something which is I need to do. I go out there, go to the store, go get my money to pay my rent or whatever, and they're tearing the building down. I mean, I didn't get any notice in this building for it. Every single construction project around here is giving me a notice for the noise. I didn't get a notice for them. I asked them where their notice was. They have to post something publicly when they're doing construction, right? Am I correct? That's the law. There was no posting. Oh, it's in the alley, and then I went to the store. I came back and I looked, and they got a piece of paper stuck up on the fence in the alley. Where did money go for the fine for the tearing down a landmark building? And now I'm hearing they want to build a hotel there, and these two buildings are standing in their way. Maybe that's why they're not doing anything for us here. They're getting ready to tear these buildings down. Sell them off and kick us out. I mean, that writing's on the wall, man. I mean, I'm not stupid. I see the writing on the wall with that one. Everybody in these city council chambers and all the city government, oh, you're no, dude, don't work like that. I know what I see. I know what I have seen in the past 30 years of being in the city. I know what I've seen the city council do. They've driven out the vast majority of the small businesses because they're collecting their taxes. Vast majority of the small businesses because they're collecting their taxes from the Chamber of Commerce, basically. And they had that ungodly union happening when I was for the newspaper. I even got the column. As a matter of fact, the front page or part of the newspaper that had one of my columns said that, and I missed it. I might not have missed it back then, There's a certain form of government that marries corporations and the government. Okay, a certain form of government. The city council, they play mayor go round every year. We don't vote our executive branch in here. There's no checks and balances in that government. None. They have backdoor private meetings. I know because I was in one of them. I was in one of them. And it was off the record. Okay. I was in one of them. We got 2 cops benched for abusing the color authority back in '97. I believe I mentioned it somewhere here in my ramble. See, I don't know what to say. I mean, I was rambling on Facebook. I just ramble. I just ramble and post it, man. I don't. This is just for my personal benefit. I have nowhere where I can keep a video log. Doesn't matter whether it's public or not. I'm just going public because I want, if anybody pops into it, let's see what they have to say. I don't care if I get paid for this. This is my ramble. It's about my experiences in my life. I'm making part of my life public knowledge to get it out of myself because it bothers me. It bothers me that I was homeless for that long. It bothers me that I had to break a stereotype, which actually hinders people from helping the homeless. I've watched them build, and I've watched them build a machine here. There's an umbrella that sits over all these homeless agencies that wasn't here when I first got here. There's an umbrella. They call it People's Concern now. They even changed the name OPCC because I guess they're playing a CEO around up there. Because the guy that was running OPCC when I was writing for a newspaper is the guy that's in charge of People's Concern now, which is an umbrella for St. John's. I mean, there's various other. I can guarantee you, there's an umbrella that they're under. It started with Lamp from out of Skid Row. Skid Row, a place where when I was staying down there, I was in St. Vincent Center, and the social workers there were selling the Section 8 vouchers for 10 grand a piece. I was there when the FBI walked in and walked them out. They moved us all out of their way. And they roped off everything, and we either had to go to our living quarters or leave. I was in the program, so I went up to my living quarters, and then I got dressed and went to work. I was there like an hour early. These are just ramblings of an old homeless part. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't have to embellish any of it. That's the funny thing. That's really the funny thing. I don't have to embellish it. I'm a Marine. I'm used to embellishing things, okay? But not this. I'm not going to embellish it, man. I'm going to come out and give you the bare bones facts of what's going on out there. Like I said, I got a doctorate degree in homelessness. 10, 11 and a half years. What's a doctorate program? 8? 8 to 10? I'll take 10. I'll take the 11 and a half. I'll take the extra credit. I'm the book that everybody judges by the cover that I wore. I don't even dress. When I was homeless, I was cleaner than the average bear, I should say. My clothes were clean. I did my laundry because I had money. I had money in my pocket. I can go do my laundry. had a place to store my stuff where I worked because I was pushing the vending carts. And in parking structure 5 is where the storage area for the vending carts at, and I kept my gear back there. On rainy nights, they didn't even let us sleep back there sometimes. And we got a whole city here. What I see going on right now, and what I've seen in the progressive years since I've been here, since they bought up all that real estate in '99, go back to that point, I've seen this place be decimated. I don't know how many exoduses out of this city I've seen. Small businesses, people. It was 88,000 people when I first got here. I don't know what it is now. That promenade, when I used to hang out in that promenade, all the way up until like I got off the street in 2004, you could barely walk down that street. I mean, it lopped off from '96 to 90. Right after '99, it started taking down all. I mean, they just started. They gentrified the area, basically. Basically, okay. I used to walk down there, and I'd walk like this. I would be pushing vending carts, and I'd be dodging between people, man, just to get around these people because I had a time limit to work with. And you couldn't run up the alleys because I didn't have any way to get to the promenade. So I had to run up the street. That's why I know I don't have a bad heart. I got a bad heart from a black mold sitting in here. I lost my leg because all of this zoning puts low income housing in high traffic areas. I wish I could get a sniffer up in here. Set it to zero. Zero it out. Take all the EPA guidelines out of it. Zero that thing out. See what's in this apartment. Guarantee you, I'll have enough heavy metals floating around up in here to sink a battleship. I know that because before I lost my leg, when I started having the problems in my circulatory system, which I never had before I moved into the apartment, I had a blood panel done. One of the first questions they asked me is, when was the last time you were around a welder? Geez, I haven't worked in a welder since I worked in a shipyard in the mid 80s. So I know whatever's in me from that. Well, you know what else has a similar things to welding? Exhaust fumes. When I was living over there, the intelligent zoning put a parking structure up against low income housing, a 9-story parking structure up against a 4-story building, a 5-story building. Okay. Then they let the MTA have their layover spots right in front of the parking structure. And what the MTA would do was they, in the wintertime, summertime, anytime, these people roll up behind the spot where they're supposed to shut their engines off and gun their engine. Guess where that engine is? Underneath my window. Well, you might say, well, close your window. I can't sleep in a stuffy apartment. I can't. I have to have some fresh air coming through here. I can't. And why should I have to? These people are supposed to not be doing this. That's the thing. I mean, there's an upside down world right there. I even went down and told them, "What are you doing? You're gunning your engine below all these apartments. I mean, 5 stories worth of apartments here in the front of that building, and you're loading us up with carbon monoxide." I even called. I had to call. I had to call the bus depot, and I had to call them like 2 or 3 times. And then finally, I said, "Look, man, by this time I had already had surgery in the back of my neck, and I was on SSI. That's the only injury that I have that I can legitimately, it's genetic with me. My dad had the same surgery by the time he was that age. Everything else, my dad didn't die of cancer. He didn't. None of my family that did that. None of my family that died of cancer. I mean, no, my dad did die of cancer. I'm sorry. That's my bust. That's my bust. My head runs. See, this is a ramble. This is a rant. My dad died of cancer in '96, pancreatic cancer. But like I said, I was way more healthy than my father. Way more healthy. Okay, and the type of things that are happening to me are not a cancer thing. Blood clots, uh, heart ailments. That's all my environment. Okay, that's my environment. Yeah, I smoke cigarettes, but I smoked on the street too. And believe me, I could outrun anybody even younger than me. I could out physically. I was a monster. I was a big guy, 5 foot 8, 155 pounds of solid muscle. I'm still cut up at 65, 63. I shouldn't even be like this. My cat shouldn't come here healthy, and all of a sudden she's got twitchy tail syndrome. I'm saying all this. There's a point at the end of this I'm going to make. The city council right now is keeping everybody so divided up that you can't come together and come to these people. Because you can't tell me that low income housing isn't linked with mom and pop businesses, which will be a little bit cheaper than the stores you got here, you know. And you can't tell me that when I tell these people that I have a problem with my building and it's a problem that's going to cost them some money to fix. It's not my responsibility to have for the upkeep and maintenance of this building. It's theirs. That's another thing. Why do I sign a contract? Was I forced to sign a contract that takes my renter's rights away from me? I wasn't even allowed to read the contract. I wasn't even allowed to read the contract. As a matter of fact, when I got the contract, I was sitting in a nursing home getting over my leg being lopped off. I had some stuff happen in the surgery. I had a bone infection. They had to put me into a nursing home to get rid of some of the stuff that aftermath of the surgery. When I signed, when I got that contract, I was doped up. I was on, I believe it was a Dilaudid and morphine. I had a Dilaudid drip and morphine every hour. Combat pain in my leg. What makes anybody think that it's right for put a contract in front of me like that in front of me? Put the contract in front of me like that, right? And tell me I can't read it. Now, even as doped up as I was, I'm still going to read that contract. My dad didn't raise a fool. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's literally ridiculous how people that are supposed to work for us, all of a sudden we work for them. The city council, they work for us. The people that own this building, I pay their rent. I pay their mortgage. I pay their taxes. I pay everything. I pay salaries. And you might say, "Oh, you're in low income housing. You're on Section 8. Other government." No, yeah, they don't get that money unless I put my John Hancock on that piece of paper. They need a body to fill that space to collect that money. And any money that comes not having a body there, I'm gonna question that money. Because what I see is a bunch of people pulling the strings, giving you millions of dollars and pulling the strings in the background. Meanwhile, you're taking the renter's money and doing the least amount of work for it, the least amount of maintenance. And where's the rest of it going? Where's the rest of it going? There's questions out there that need to be answered. Like I said, I've lived in this city for 30 some years, since 1996. Hell, I've been here since 95. I was in the VA hospital up in the homeless program up there when I came out of Skid Row. Now, do I look like the type of person that's stupid? Am I speaking like the type of person? I might throw lingo in there once in a while. No, man, I'm an intelligent man. I'm an intelligent human being. And I was homeless. So the stereotype in intelligence and homeless probably don't squeeze together somewhat in your brains. I know it doesn't in the city council because if any of them people wound up on the street, they'd eat them alive out there. As a matter of fact, the city council is boasting how safe these streets are, and I've heard them say that these streets are safe. I've heard them say that right here. All these agencies say these streets are safe. I don't mean the homeless agencies. I mean the low-income agencies and the people that own these buildings behind me. Like, yeah, behind me. When you see me doing that, I'm getting my bearings in my own apartment. That's the Marine Corps brain. Anyway, where's all the money going? I mean, these people can't tell me that they're not getting billions of dollars a year here, man. I mean, they're throwing up buildings left and right around here. Yeah, they're allowing it to happen, but there's still there's got to be some kind of way that they're paying. I mean, they're throwing up buildings left and right. These people are making billions of dollars a year off my back, off your back. And I'm not talking about even the people on the other side of San Vicente. Now, I'm the type of guy, I don't care what your ideology is. I don't care what party you belong to. I am not, I wasn't trained like that. I care about the Constitution. I care about my rights. My rights under the Bill of Rights, which, by the way, that correlates into the UN because the UN is basically a mirror, supposedly a mirror of what we have here. Supposedly. I mean, and the thing is that nobody wants to stand up. Everybody's too busy having some kind of ideology going on. I mean, it ain't gonna work. There's too many people out here that disagree with all this stuff. There's too many people out here that disagree with it. And then, you can watch whatever news program you want. Okay, I don't watch mainstream media news. I watch alternative media news, and the only time mainstream mentioned in there is either they're making fun of mainstream media or they're showing you where the mainstream media got it right. And believe me, I listen from left to right. Okay, I'm not an ideologue. As a matter of fact, that limits your intelligence. Prove me wrong on that one. I mean, I've had I left some people because they're throwing ideology at me. I'm like, dude, you're gonna walk in there. They got you divided up already, and I can predict what's going to happen. They're gonna throw you a bone, throw you a bone. Good little boy, good little girl, good little person. Throw you a bone. Then when you get annoying, it's gonna be because they got a long list of people for these apartments. They can get rid of any one of us at any time because the way they're portraying the homeless and what they're doing with the low income housing is the people that own these buildings don't want anybody like us in their building. And that's exactly the way that's exactly the attitude you get, like us. Well, we don't want none of them homeless people. We don't want none of them low income people. I mean, if I walked into a building, I moved into a building, they didn't know my Section 8 voucher was getting me their apartment, and they talked to me every day, and I didn't say I'm not, I wouldn't tell them I'm on a voucher or anything. Oh, I could say I'm on SSI, and I'm retired. That's all I'm retired. That's what SSI is, retirement fund. Anyway, um, they, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's right in everybody's face, man. Oh, we're going to solve homelessness. Well, there's more homeless people on the street, and the rent keeps going up. Where's the solution? These mega corporations, these real estate agencies, and all this stuff, all that money they got tied up, they they're making hand over fist. They're making back in 2003 when I was working for the newspaper. I wrote an article about it. I had to do research. And these are opinion columns, and I'm doing research for an opinion column. With my opinion, I'm doing research, and I'm basing my opinion on facts. Back then, it was 1,000% plus profit these big mega real estate corporations are making. And they have no competition because they just blew all the mom and pop real estate out of the water unless you're on the other side of San Vicente, I'll bet. Or farther up past Wilshire, maybe up by Idaho or whatever. You know, Georgina Avenue. You take all the low income housing out, you have rents high as hell. You divide all the low income people up with vouchers, non vouchers, this kind of voucher, that kind of voucher. Then you compartmentalize everybody so there's fewer people in your face complaining. When everything's interconnected, actually, everything's interconnected. If I was low income, I'm in low income housing. I'd love to have a mom and pop business. As a matter of fact, I shop at two of them. I shop at the tobacco shop and I shop at a pet store. I buy my queen some toys and all her kitty litters and stuff. I don't want to shop at a corporate store. I don't want to support that. This is a community. This might be a city, but there's separate communities in the city. I don't even know who the hell represents me. No one knocked on my door and asked for my vote. Yeah, I got stuff in the mail. I throw that stuff away. To me, that's propaganda. These people on the city council, I want to know why if any of them are in real estate, if they have any involvement in big real estate, anything. If they're fingers in that pie, why are they sitting on the city council making laws that deal with real estate? Why do they have closed door meetings? I told you I was in one of those closed door meetings. We got two cops benched. We got the cold weather shelter open. As a matter of fact, we got the VA hospital open up the shelter up there for the vets. You know, I'm not a podcast host. So I'm not sitting here with some kind of notes in front of me. I'm just going by what I feel I need to say. And everything I'm talking about is interconnected if you listen to the whole what I'm talking. Like I said, I don't even know who represents me. Did they ask for my vote? Did they knock on my door? Did one of their representatives come and knock on my door? I mean, it's redonkulous. Not ridiculous, redonkulous. And people here in Santa Monica, they just kick back and let it happen. Kick back and let it happen. Kick back and let it happen until it affects them. Well, you know what? In all my experience, when things like this happen, they usually happen from the bottom up. Okay, they usually happen from the bottom up. Whatever they do to people out in the low income housing and the homeless, eventually it goes into the middle class. Really think about what I'm talking about here. And when I say they, I say people that are in charge that are taking advantage of us. I don't care what you want to call it. I don't care how you want it. Put what label you want to put on it. There are people that are taking advantage of us. They're robbing us of our money. They're making us miserable. Actually, in some instances, like in my instance, they killed me. Because if I can link that black mold to my heart attack that I died from, this city's in trouble. That's all I do is put that out to my family. My family loves money. They like to make money. They like money. They like to work for the money. They like to get the money any way they can get it. Mostly working for it. But if something like this in a lawsuit that I'm wrong, that actually wronged about, they love that. And my family don't try to put themselves in that hurt locker. People I know, family I know does business, has businesses. Like I said, they're straight up people, man. Straight up people. My cousin finds black mold in where he works. He's gonna say, look, man, I get rid of this for you, but I give you 60% discount on your lowest. Then you do it. Sometimes he told me sometimes I don't even take the money. I just do it because they got kids. That's what we're missing in the business. The low income stuff, the family unit, the family businesses. I don't like these big corporations. The only reason I sat at Starbucks the whole time I was at Starbucks is because I was drawing in their boat. It was a win-win situation. It was a symbiotic relationship. I gave the tourists a touch of Europe by having my easel set up and doing drawings, doing my art homework, and I get free coffee. I get to sit there. I get to do business there. So I didn't fall under the permit thing. And that's legal. It's in the law. They couldn't run me out of there. I made money there on top of working, on top of going to college. I made a few bucks here and there doing my artwork. So hell, I got a drawing of Gallagher I did during the election when Arnold got elected. He was running for office. He came and I did it. I still got the drawing. I did a portrait of him in color. I did a color portrait of him. He said, "Where's my smile?" I said, "You weren't wearing one." He said, "Fix it." So I fixed it. I put a smile on it. Give me a little work, a little adjustment, but it looks good. You can look at it. You can look at it anytime. It looks good. I can pull it out because I ain't got enough room to pull my stuff out here. I don't understand why people can't just step back and look at what's going on, especially here in Santa Monica, man. I love the people here in Santa Monica, man. There's art people here. There's business people here. There's you know, if you want to label me anything, I'm a liberal because I believe the Constitution, the First Amendment holds some water. You know, First Amendment holds some water, man. You can basically do anything you want as long as you're not trying to hurt people. You say what you want as long as you're not trying to start a riot. You know, you can say what you want. That's why that's how liberal I think. And it was all on the Constitution because the Constitution, in my mind, is one of the most liberal, progressive documents that was ever put on this planet because it builds from the ground up. The people at the bottom have the power, and it's in the Constitution. You can read it all through the Constitution. I mean, you can go in there and play semantics, play word doctor, play this, play that. To me, that's just noise. That's just a pseudo intellectual trying to be smart. And yeah, I said the word pseudo intellectual because there's a lot of them out there. A lot of them out there think they're smart. They just put a bunch of word salad, psychobabble together. Well, I'm the guy that tosses that salad. I'm the guy that tosses that salad. I told you, I grew up reading a dictionary. I grew up reading comic books and the encyclopedia. I speak 3 languages. I just don't have the vocabulary for 2 of them. But I understand the structure of the language. I understand the conjugations of the verbs, adjectives, and everything else. That's the language right there. All they need is a vocabulary. 3 languages. 1 of them I learned on my own, Spanish. I took a little bit of Spanish in high school, found out how to run with it. If I get a vocabulary, I can speak Castilian Spanish. Castilian, European Spanish. And I speak a little bit of Spanish on the street. I speak Japanese, man. And yet, I'm in low-income housing. I'm not putting this on anybody out there. I'm putting it on what people would label me as being in low-income housing. I'm putting out there what I know about the city, what I've seen happen over time. When I was 5 years old, my dad taught me to play chess. And it's kind of funny. I was thinking about that. And I was 5, and he taught me to think 5 moves ahead. And then, well, 5 years old, 5 moves ahead. Okay. You see? But he taught me another thing. Don't step into the game until you've studied the board. I've studied the board. I've studied this board for 30 years. I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm just going to pose questions. Pose questions. I might sprinkle this little rant with questions. You know what I mean? And make you think. Make you think. You don't think unless you question something. My dad taught me another thing too, and this also was taught to me in school. 6 questions to ask: who, what, where, how, when, why. 6 questions. That's a line of logic right there. I like chocolate. I'm missing my feet. Kind of funny though. Formerly homeless, low income guy, long hair, was kind of ratty. Is that some kind of intelligence about him? Wow. Don't I break a stereotype somewhere in here? I mean, I love humanity. I don't want to see my race, the human race, doing north side. I don't. I like my race, the human race. Once you design a T-shirt, on the front, I say, I belong to the greatest race in the world, just to make you think. And then as I walk by, on the back, the human race. You see, I'm a 60s baby. I lived through the civil rights movement. I'm a 70 teen. I lived through every civil rights movement since the 60s. Everybody's got the rights. When I was growing up, you couldn't marry a black woman if you were white. You couldn't marry a white man if you were black. You couldn't marry a white woman if you were black. It's against the law. A lot of states. As a matter of fact, I think it was sitting on the federal books for a while. I'm not sure about that one. But I've experienced Jim Crow. I'm from Chicago. We would drive through neighborhoods. My dad would take us, let's say we're going to a restaurant or something, or we're going to grandma's house or my cousin's house or something, maybe a birthday party. I don't remember what the instance was. First off, we went from a white neighborhood to a black neighborhood, and I mean legit. I mean, it was like white people, black people, and that was it. The white neighborhood was clean, the black neighborhood was dirty. Am I blaming the black people? No, I'm blaming the city because the city was prejudiced. Mayor Daley was one of the most bigoted mayors we had. That guy was so arrogant, he put his mansion in the middle of a ghetto. In the middle of a black ghetto. And had all his buddies living around him, too. He had all the property in the middle of a ghetto. In the middle of a ghetto. Wouldn't you call that bigoted? Racist? This was Dr. Dre did. He went to Compton. He went to a black neighborhood. Planted his mansion and said, look, this is what you can achieve. I know what prejudice is. I know what racism is. Me and my brother were running up in the. We used to go to downtown Chicago and buy comic books. We used to go to old comic book shop, buy older editions of the comic books. Me and my huge collection too. Mint, mint condition first editions and all this stuff. We're riding the bus. We're going up Stony Island to get to the L to take the L in. And I saw this cute black girl in my high school. And she was pretty. I didn't see the color of her face. I didn't see the color of her skin. The only thing the color of her skin was exotic to me. It was exotic. I guess one of the guys over, she said something. I don't know. One of the guys said something. Getting off the bus, one of the guys popped me in the face. I was sitting on the outside. My brother was sitting on the inside. Popped me in the face. My brother reached over and grabbed him by the hair. I ran around and we kicked the shit out of him and threw him out in the next bus stop. And even the bus driver let us do it because he saw what happened. See, this is back when we had discipline, when we had people that actually cared about how children treated each other and how we treated children. And it wasn't a white bus driver either. You get that thought out of your head. I remember distinctly that I distinctly remember that situation. So where's Jim Crow right now? I see more mixed couples running around. I see gay couples. I see mixed couples. I see um, I don't see transsexuals around here. I don't live close to West Hollywood enough for them. I mean, I might have, but I don't know. I mean, if I actually looked, I could probably tell. I'm an artist. Everybody's walking down the street. Everybody's saying hi to each other. Nobody's calling each other out their name. No one's got a problem with anybody's skin color. I got two biracial kids. I had two mulatto children. That's the real term for mixed black and white, mulatto. And you know what? Some of these ideologies are saying I'm playing on white guilt. I'm like, what? My ex-wife taught me more about black people than you guys know. She was the first one that taught me that black people come from Africa, well, not Africa, but just black slave traders, black tribes were selling their own people into slavery. She's the first one that told me this. A black woman told me this back in the 80s. And she clued me in on the indentured servitude during the slave days, where white people were indentured servants to other white people. Who do I owe reparations to? What I see in that instance is whatever powers that be have taken and totally decimated the education of the black community. Affirmative action was cool when it first started. I gotta tell you, I mean, there's videos out there. The first person, I think, there's a woman that went to university. First woman to go to this university under affirmative action, right after the Jim Crow era, when it was needed. You know what that person went in? She didn't ask for her standards to be lowered. She went in and kicked some booty. She went in and said, "Look, I'm a smart black woman. I'm a smart black human being." I believe that was the first affirmative action student into a major college. I mean, I don't know if it was an Ivy League or whatever. Now what are the standards for that? I mean, that should have been cut off like in the 80s, man. Affirmative action should have been wiped off the board, and then you go in meritocracy. Then you'll have black business owners. You'll have more black people doing higher up in the education standard, more high paying jobs. Instead, I watched the whole community get decimated. And like I said, I don't sit on any side of the fence with these political parties. To me, they're unconstitutional. They're unconstitutional. There ain't nothing in the Constitution that talks about a political party. Nothing. You find it, point it out to me. And if you're trying to play word games with the black and white words, I'm gonna point that out to you. My lineage is this: German, Irish, Indian, and half Swedish. Okay, you want to go through the white part of that? I have Viking blood in me. I am Swedish. And you can't tell me them Swedes weren't Vikings. Okay, Germanic. and Celt. Now, if you look at the pre-Rome empire, the Celtic Empire, it once stretched across from Britain all the way to the Middle East almost. And I think they had part of Saudi Arabia. That was the Celtic Empire. That empire was so bad that Alexander the Great, look at the way he marched across. He didn't go too far north, went straight into India. Why didn't he go north? Because he had a treaty with them people. That was the Celtic Empire, man. Caesar took Vercingetorix. I forget what the battle was, but the way he beat them is he built the wall around the city. Then when he heard the barbarian horde was coming, and I believe there was over 250,000 barbarians getting ready to bear down on old Alex and old Caesar and his boys. So what he did was he built a wall around the outside. So he had a donut-shaped fort. That was the only way they could beat these people. Only way they had to outsmart them. The Celtic Empire had wooden roads that they kept up throughout that empire. Tribe here, tribe there, tribe here, tribe there, tribe here, tribe there. They traded amongst each other. The tartan plaid that you talk about, that's from the Celtic Empire. They traded in gold. They traded in linen, cloths, linens. They had especially gold and jewelry and weaponry. That was their mainstay, man. And they lasted. They were there during the Greek Empire, so I know they were probably there before Alexander the Great, because he knew that they were dangerous enough that he didn't want to go that far north. It's just logical thinking. That's one of my lineage. It's a Germanic and a Celtic. That's the Irish and the German. I have Native American blood in me. I have 1/16 Cherokee and 1/16 Chickasaw. Okay? From my great grandmother, my dad's side. My grandfather was a German immigrant, and he married a Native American woman. He wasn't constrained by the American thinking about Native Americans. He came over, whatever he was doing when he came over here, he married my mom, my great grandma. My ex-wife used to tell me her lineage, her tribal lineage, coming from what? She's Arawak Indian. Her mom's from Puerto Rico, St. Thomas. Her dad's black. He's got stuff that goes back into Nigeria, from what I understand. There's nothing wrong with knowing your roots, but know the true history of these roots. I'm part Viking, man. You don't think the Vikings took slaves? I'm part Native American. You don't think the Native Americans took slaves? You better wise up to that one. They were taking black slaves, white slaves, green slaves, purple polka dot slaves. They were taking each other's tribes as slaves. You beat a tribe, and that's your slave. So who do I owe reparations to? Where does this start? I mean, you can check it. Unless you go into the grifters that are selling these books to everybody, like the BLM, the Patricia, whatever her name, the former founder of BLM, that's sitting over here in let's see, I'm pointing in the right direction. That's sitting over here in Bel Air in her $1 million mansion in a white neighborhood. Even black people are starting to dump on BLM, man. The 1619 project, that's an extension of the Black Israelites. And I ran into them guys in Venice Beach. I'm a Christian. I know the Bible. Black Israelites and the KKK, they like to use that Bible. They like to twist that up any way they can to make themselves right. Look into the background of some of these people you're trusting. Otherwise, you're gonna have people like her sitting over here in Bel Air. You're gonna have people like the city council sitting over here sucking up all the money and having all the fun, and making life miserable for all uh, their 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 subjects. I ain't nobody's subject. My Christian roots tell me I'm his subject. I'm daddy's subject. I work for him. I don't work for anyone else. Even in the Marine Corps, I worked for them. I worked when I was a Christian when I was in the Marine Corps. I was Catholic, I should say. But that doesn't mean I wasn't crazy like a Marine. Yeah, I was. I was 19, 19 in a foreign country. Never been there before. Always wanted to go. Always wanted to go to Japan. As a matter of fact, I was signing that contract. I told one of my buddies that I'm going to Japan. How do you know? I don't know. I just know I'm going to Japan. Daddy wanted me to see that country. Give me a vacation. Not a vacation, but give me a vacation from Western world. Matter of fact, when I was over there, this is tobacco. When I was over there, that's the first time I learned about Bushido. Now, Marines and Knights are kind of like synonymous with each other. I'm not whatever Knight code is, the romanticized part of it. That's part of our code. The Bushido is the same thing. What do you think a samurai did when he wasn't at war? Art, music, gardening, politics, selling things, being an entrepreneur. I mean, all this stuff ties together. All this stuff ties together. Ties together in this. We are sitting here and letting these people walk all over us. That's what we're doing. I mean, I'm talking to people in Santa Monica. That's what you're doing. You're letting them divide you up by ideologies, or letting you divide you up by, you know, whatever craziness they got thinking about anything. They keep you divided, keeping you fighting each other. They keep you fighting each other so you don't look up and see who's actually peeing on you and calling it rain. I said as much in some of my columns. Like I said, I don't care who watches this. I might post this post this someplace else, but I might just leave it here. Because the people that are running this thing, the people that are doing all these not nice things, they're starting to lose. Even here on YouTube, all across the board, they're starting to lose their jobs. That's the karma. I mean, people don't understand what karma is. I'm a Christian. I'm telling you about karma. Think about that one. Think about that one. You know why? Because it's in the Bible. It's in the Bhagavad Gita. It's even in the Satanic Bible. It's in witchcraft. It's in the magic, 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 not the sleight of hand stuff. As a matter of fact, if I'm correct, in witchcraft, if you do something bad, it comes back on you 3 times. That's karma. So if something's got a thread that runs through all these spiritual beliefs, including the evil one, and I do consider Satanism evil, okay, because I've studied everything in there. Book of the Golden Dawn, Satanic Bible, not at the same time, separately. I didn't use, I didn't cast spells, but I studied how to do it. I studied the mechanisms. I studied, and what I found out is there's a similarity in casting spells and praying because it all has to do with intention. One side you're not supposed to do, and one side you are supposed to do, according to this, in my belief. Whatever your belief is, I don't care. That's on you. That's not on me. Okay? And that's what's going to happen. These people that work for YouTube and all these places, the people that sit on the city council over here, the people that run, the people that own this building and other buildings here that are in the low income section, the people that own the private buildings over, they're all going to feel the karma. They're already starting to feel the karma. Like I said, I'm not an ideologue. I think ideologies are kind of silly sometimes if they're not based in fact. And the problem is everybody's trying to scrub facts away. No, you can't do that, man. You can't. Because eventually, deep down inside, you're going to know it's wrong. And the more you try to push that on yourself, the more you're deep down inside, you're going to rebel against yourself. That's why some of you are so angry out there. I'm not causing anybody's anger. I can care less what people do behind closed doors, and I can care less what people do with their life, as long as it doesn't affect me in a bad way. And that's the majority of people out here. Most of us don't even care. Just keep it out of my face. You know, do the right thing if you're in office. Serve the people. Most of us don't care who's in office. I mean, you got the ideologue. Oh, I got to be a Democrat. I got to be a Republican. I got to be late for dinner. Got to be late for dinner because that's what you're doing. You're being late for dinner. Like I said, this is just a rant. I might go on for a little bit. I might not go on for a little bit. You know, I'll probably roll over and get a cup of coffee. You know, I might turn on, you know, I might pop up YouTube on the other side over here and watch a video or watch another video. I don't care. I need to get a lot of stuff off my chest. And I'm trying to not be rude about it. Okay? Believe me, I have a good vocabulary. I have a very good vocabulary. Like you said, it's like the third or fourth time that I grew up reading dictionaries and encyclopedias. I wanted to learn when I was growing up. I never lost that. I didn't have it driven out of me. Even when I was homeless, I was most creative when I was homeless. God, you see some of my work what I do when I was homeless, you know. And I'm the type of person that don't think I'm very good. I have to be told I'm good for you to convince me that I'm good. Okay, I'm not just some guy that's blowing bubbles on a piece of paper and getting $100,000 for it. Excuse me, guys. I'm gonna get some coffee. I sit here and watch a lot of stuff. You know, I mean, I have my interests: history, art, uh, 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 conspiracy theories. I'm running out of those, by the way. Yeah, a lot of them are starting to come true right now. A lot of them are starting to come true. When I say I'm not an ideologue, what I mean by this is I don't subscribe to anything that's not based in fact. And I mean, I can touch it. It's a fact. I read it in a book in black and white without interpreting it is a fact. I'm the type of guy that believes the Bible, the whole Old Testament, that was Lord of the Rings, dude. Literally, man. If you read some of the other books that surround the that surround the Old Testament, especially Genesis, and most of these pretty much line up with Genesis, Jasher, Jubilees, and Enoch. Enoch was in the Bible because it explained the Nephilim. It explained what happened. There's only one Bible in the world that has the Book of Enoch in it. It's the Ethiopian Bible, but it was originally there. Why'd you take it out? Wonder. I wonder. What don't they want us to know? That maybe the Nephilim were real? That maybe everything we call mythology was real? That they did go out there and battle minotaurs, giants, centaurs, that uh, the gods were actually here. The gods were actually here. The Nephilim posing as gods, fallen angels posing as gods, that we fought against them. I mean, I look at all this stuff and I look at how history lines up. They say we only have what, about 100,000 years of of mankind's history, when we really only have like 5,000 years of history across the board. None of these texts go back beyond 5,000 years. You can check on me. You can check me on that one. You can check me on that one. That's one thing I'll ask you to check me on. They got mythologies across the world talking about a great flood. We even have strata. The word strata means laid down by size, basically. And there's only two ways you can get strata like that: liquefaction of the earth, which is, if you don't know what liquefaction of the earth is, that's when you have an earthquake and there's parts of the earth that they look solid, but it's like water because it's being shook up. Or a big flood that it took 40 days to get the earth flood, and then it lasted for a year. It wiped out everything. There's even evidence of that in you go on Google Maps. There's evidence. You can see flow lines, man, like a big flood happened in some places, especially in North Africa, Northeast or Northwest Africa. The Eye of the Sahara. That's Atlantis. That's Atlantis. Guaranteed. Guaranteed right in front of your nose. But they don't see, people that are in charge don't want you to know this thing because it gives you power. It shows you where you came from. It shows you actually where your heritage is. Like I said, I don't care what color a person is. I really don't. In my mind,